Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to my January TBR. I feel like I usually start these videos and say I can't believe it's already January. No, I can't believe it's already February is what I would say right here, but I feel like January was like 3 months long. I feel like the month was never ending, so it's crazy that we're already in February. Now today is February 1st when I film this, so first and foremost, happy birthday Harry Styles. I had to get that out there. The month of January was definitely an interesting reading month for me. I definitely started off on a good note, and I feel like that usually happens in like the New Year's. I get really excited to start reading again, kind of like a motivation kick, but then after filming a few videos and reading books, I kind of slumped out for a little bit, so it gets a little interesting at the end of my reading month. For the month of January, there were 13 books in total. There were 6 romances, which I feel like is most romances I've had in a month in a while. I don't know why I was on a little romance kick, I guess. Or maybe it was for the videos. I'm not too sure. But there were 6 romances, 4 fantasy, 2 mysteries, which I haven't read that genre in a while, and 1 DNF. So we had our first DNF of the year. Now let's get into the books I read, the ratings, my review, all the good stuff. So the first book of January was the reread. The last week of December, I decided to reread some of my favorite books, and this one kind of went into the first week of January. So it's kind of like last year and this year mixed together is when I was reading this. I didn't fully read this year, but I did finish it in the beginning of January, the first few days, and this is by Lauren Roberts. It's her YA fantasy debut novel. You guys know how much I love this. I've raved about it since I read it. I read it in one of my Finding a 5-star videos, and this was the 5-star, so I wanted to reread it really bad. If you haven't heard of it, if you don't know what it's about, it's kind of like giving Hunger Games-esque with like an enemies to lovers situation, definitely a romantasy. There's trials and stuff. In the kingdom and the city of this world, there's 2 sides. There's ordinaries and elites, and the king got rid of all of the ordinaries, so there's just elites with their powers and everything. I'm not really sure how often it is, but there are trials, and our main character Peyton is an ordinary living among the elites and is put into the trials with our other main character Kai, who is an elite. He is a prince, and his job for the king is to actually get rid of ordinaries. So like I said, romance, the fantasy, the powers, and the trials, it's all really fun. It's not really a hard world to grasp or anything, and that's why I loved it so much. It's really easy to get into, really easy to understand, and it's really fun to go along. And the second one comes out this year, and I'm just so excited. She also announced a novella, I believe, that comes out in April about a side character in here, so lots going on, really fun. As we know, it's a 5-star, it's a 6-star. I'm obsessed with this. The romance, the banter really was just top tier for me, and it just made me giddy. And anytime a book can make me feel something, even if it's like giddiness, happiness, sadness, or something, words on paper can pull something out of me. I absolutely love it. So love this book. Really great start to the year. Then I read on my Kindle Behind the Net. This one is a hockey romance. It's actually a adult hockey romance, I believe. I think he's in the NHL, and if I'm gonna be honest, I read this book in a day, so it's very easy to get through. It's fast paced. If you want to sit and binge a book, this one is probably perfect. It's also an interconnected standalone. There's a second one I believe that's out right now. I haven't read that one yet, but I gave this one 3.5 stars. I think I gave it 4 on Goodreads. I'm not too sure, but going back into it, I think 3.5 is where I stood with the rating. What I liked about it is that it was fast paced, like I said, could read it super quick, and the only thing is, I don't know if it's because I read it really quick or because it's been a few weeks, I do not remember the storyline of this book. I don't even know what happened in the book. I don't remember anything about it. I just know it's a hockey romance. That's literally all I can remember about it. I don't know if that's saying something, but I do recommend it. From what I remember reading about it, it was fast-paced. I did enjoy it. I think I liked the main guy, and it's funny that I can't remember because I do want to read the second one. Really take what you want with that. I don't remember anything, but I think they knew each other back in the day, and she goes to, hold on, it's like kind of coming back to me. I think she's put on to help him in his career, but they knew each other back in the day, but she shows up and he doesn't really say anything about knowing her, so she thinks he doesn't remember her, but she had a crush on him back in the day. I think they're living together. I don't know, but it was good. 3.5 is not a bad rating. It's just not my favorite romance, but it was a fast-paced, kind of like a palate cleanser type of romance read. So then I read Picking Daisies on Sundays by Liana Cincotti. I think that's how you say her last name. I'm not too sure, but this one, as soon as I saw it on TikTok, completely sold me. I knew I wanted to put it on my TBR and read it someday, and I'm so happy that I did. The cover of this is just absolutely stunning. I think it is so cute. The author actually designed the cover herself, which I think is just stunning and just like the perfect like aesthetic lovey-dovey cover. I'm obsessed with it. But this one is a contemporary romance novel. I also believe this is Closed Door, and I think I gave this one 4 stars. This one feels like your good old rom-com. Like, it just feels like you're watching a rom-com in your head, and they were childhood best friends. They, in their 4 years of high school, they became really close, best friend territory. They never really crossed that line, even though, you know, in her point of view, she really loved him back then, but something happened and they haven't talked in a few years. She's now kind of going through graduating and figuring out her life after that, so you get that kind of aspect of what's going on, and then obviously she sees him again. And what I liked about this is that there were a lot of scenes of them together, which I feel like in a lot of romances, contemporary romances, when you're reading about them, there's a lot of scenes like separate of what's going on in their lives and stuff, and you do get that, but they were like it definitely really focus on the relationship and on them and what happened between them and mending it and the chemistry between the two, which I love so much. I do think some of it was kind of like almost predictable, and one part of it I kind of almost guessed and didn't love, but again, it felt like a rom-com. Like, it felt like I was just watching a cute little rom-com movie, and I just loved their romance and their story, and it was just so sweet. This is just the definition of a sweet rom-com-y contemporary romance. Like, if you need another palate cleanser, but I don't know any other word but sweet, like, it was just so cute and I loved it. I really did enjoy this, and the cover is everything. Then I read the Bromance book club by Alyssa K. Adams. This one I think is also interconnected standalone series. I think there's like 5-ish of them. There's more than I thought there was. But this one I actually binged in like a day and a half. This one was so fast paced as well. So if you need another romance that's almost not like your other typical contemporary romances, because this one is a romance, but what I liked about this one is it didn't follow the storyline and like the plot line and the usual script of like other contemporary romances, because this is about a married couple who are on the brink of a divorce. So he's kind of on this gravel path to win his wife back. In doing so, he is recruited by his best guy friends into their Bromance book club, where they read almost like Regency romance novels and incorporate that into fixing their relationships and stuff. So they take what women are writing in romance books and what women want in romance and kind of using that as a tool in their relationship, which is just, it was so interesting. And that's where like the comedic relief of this came in, is like these grown men helping each other out in this way. And it was really interesting, really funny. I like seeing that side of it in our main character and all those other men. And he's also a professional baseball player, so you have these like huge macho men just like really trying to understand their wives and their women and help better their relationship through these romance novels. I gave this one a 3.75. I didn't love the wife in this, which is very interesting because I feel like I would have enjoyed the groveling he was doing with the wife, but at first I was very understanding, but I feel like at some point she just like really did not want to listen to him. And also her sister was a side character in here, and I just really didn't enjoy her either. She kind of was like meddling? Is that the word, meddling with the relationship? But other than that, I enjoyed the writing style. It was so fast paced. I loved the dynamic between seeing him and his friends and figuring out what to do, but also you get a lot of him and the wife and like him trying to help and figure out what's going on, and you get like really what's going on between a marriage and a relationship in that sense. So I enjoyed this one. It was really good. I do want to continue the series as well. Then I read None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. I was in such a thriller mystery mood, which I haven't been in such a long time, but I wanted a book. Like I said, I've been binging those ones previously, so I wanted one that I could read pretty fast, and I feel like thriller and mysteries are always ones that I can get through fast because I always want to know how it ends. I'm usually on the edge of my seat to figure out the ending, so I had this one for a while. I heard great things about it. I read Lisa Jewell's, I think I read 2 of her other books, and I really enjoyed one of them a lot. None of This Was True, I think that's what it's called, but no. How would it be called None of This Is True if this is what that's called? Then She Was Gone, I really enjoyed. This one had me on the edge of my seat 95% of the entire book. Like, I was really into it. The setup of this is really interesting. You have this woman who has a podcast where she interviews women and stuff that they go through, and she's kind of in a rut with her podcast, and she bumps into this other woman who's our other main character, and her name is Josie. They have this chance encounter where they have the same birthday, they're the same age, and then they bump into each other again, and Josie's like, you should interview me for your podcast. And so they go down this rabbit hole of doing that and kind of unraveling Josie's backstory and what Josie's life is like with her husband and her kids, and her unraveling her home life and everything with our other main character Alex was just so interesting to go down the rabbit hole of. And I liked what Lisa Jewell is doing with this, with the setup of it and the pacing of it, because the setup was like you have the podcast and you also almost feels like a Netflix documentary, which was really interesting. But then, like I said, the pacing was so fast paced. Like, she left little hints for you to like cling on to, and like you want to know more and you want to know what's happening, so you want to continue reading. I was hooked the whole time, but like I said, only 95% of it, because I feel like Lisa Jewell, from the books that I've read by her, she doesn't have these like wowing plot twists at the end, and I felt like this one was gonna have one. Like, I was so excited to get to the end and be completely like thrown off guard and like completely shook, and like that's what I love about mysteries, is being so completely, again, thrown off guard, because the endings are so like sometimes even outlandish. But this one kind of unraveled. I did enjoy the writing style. I love her writing and the way she could create these mysteries and thrillers and really get into your head of like what you think is going on. I think if the ending did blow me away, I would have given this 5 stars. Like, it was so good. Either way, I did enjoy it like a lot. I gave it 4.5 stars. So did I give it 4.5? No, I gave it 4 stars. I gave it 4 stars. But I think if the ending was crazy, I would have given it 5 stars. But it still, again, was really good. I love her writing, and the storyline was just so intriguing. Then I read House of Sky and Breath, which is the second book in the Crescent City series. I knew I wanted to read this in January and try to finish it before the next book came out, the third one. I started this early January, and it took me a bit to get through because obviously she's thick. But if you watched my last wrap up, I didn't absolutely love the first Crescent City book. It wasn't my favorite Sarah J. Maas book. I don't really love the characters. This one I kind of grew to like them a little bit more, especially towards the end, I feel like, in this this one. The storyline of this I feel like was also more interesting than the first one, because in the first book you get a lot more world building, learning characters and stuff. So going into this one, you kind of know the characters, you are learning a lot more, but you're kind of more secure in what's going on, not what's going on, but like who you're following and stuff. So I did like the plot line of this one a lot more, and towards the end I did start to connect to the characters. I will say I don't love the main girl in this. She's just not my favorite to follow. The side characters I really love, and they kind of solidified me wanting to continue the series. And then ending of this, people say is absolutely crazy. It is. Sarah J Maas's brain is crazy, the way she could intricately wove, you know, the way she can make these storylines, and her brain is just like mastermind coded. And I think this one also made me need to read the third one, because you can't read the end of this and just not continue the series. So this one I definitely liked more. I think I give this one 4.25. Sarah J Maas has like this thing at the end of her books where you're just like adrenaline rushing the last like 200 pages, and this one did it for me. And you're just finding out so much, and it's just crazy where you start from the first book and how you end up here. It's like so much goes on, and you're almost like feels like a fever dream. And this one is actually an urban fantasy series, so it's like our main characters are like calling each other on phones and emailing each other and taking selfies and stuff. So it's very interesting having a fantasy world but take place with modern technology. It's definitely a crazy mix. I've never read an urban fantasy, but 4.25 for this one. Then I read Into the Dark by Jessa Hastings. I so kindly got the arc of this and I was freaking out. I think I read the first chapter and then I didn't continue reading because I just needed to sit with the fact that I had this book. If you don't know, I'm obsessed with the Magnolia Park series. That is probably one of my favorite series ever, and this was the last book in the Magnolia point of view. So you have Magnolia's books and then you have Daisy Hate's books, and there will be more in the Daisy Hate's point of views, but the last one in Magnolia and BJ's. And Magnolia and BJ are my favorite point of views to follow. I just really fell in love with their story and with what they were doing. They frustrated me, they annoyed me, but I also loved following along with them. And Jessa's writing in this series is so poetic and beautiful, and the quotes that you find in this series is like none other than I've ever read. And I think all of that mixed together just really, I don't know, made me love it so much. So getting this arc was just insane. I did take my time with it. I wanted to savor it. I wanted to really digest what I was reading, because again, the last point of view of them, I obviously gave this one 5 stars, 6-star read. Like I feel like this one really followed a different theme than the rest of them, and you can really tell as it's going on. And I feel like all the themes of like growth and grief and love and pain and all these different topics and things that Jessa writes about in this one with our characters is done so beautifully and so wonderfully, and I think she did it in such a great job. I could read an infinite amount of books on just these 2 characters. I feel like they've planted themselves into my heart like so deeply that I'm like attached to them in a way. So I'm very sad to be letting them go in their point of views. Obviously I could reread these books. I will reread these books, but I think it was also finished and completed, and their end to their story was done and like wrapped up in like a great way. But also again, Jessa just has an incredible way with words, and the storyline of this one almost feels less of a structure than the other ones. Like you don't really know the timeline of what's going on. It kind of just follows our characters, which you do in the whole series. You're following these characters of what they're doing. It's more character driven, but this one, like especially, it's like you're just following what they're going through at this time. And I cried so many times, not just sad tears but happy tears. Like it really made me feel, and this whole series has made me feel this whole time. So yeah, I loved it so much. I cannot wait for everyone to be reading this one. I feel like it really has a special place in my heart, the finished, you know, completion to Magnolia and BJ's story. I also cannot wait for the next Daisy books. I just feel like you get little hints in Magnolia Parks where like I now need to know what's going on over there. 5, 6-star. I love this series so much, and it was done beautifully, this book. Then we have my first DNF of this year. I went into this book because I needed kind of a palate cleanser after reading House of Sky and Breath and then Into the Dark back to back. I needed something that was just going to be fast, kind of keep me in the reading spirit and keep me reading. So I chose The Game Plan by Michaela Smeltzer. This is a hockey romance, and I thought since reading Behind the Net, and that one was fast paced and I was in like a hockey romance mood from that, like I really enjoyed that book even though I don't remember anything about it. I thought that this one would kind of give the same vibe, so I wanted to read one that was fast paced like I said. After I think I read 80-ish pages of this, maybe 90, I put it down and I told myself this year, if I'm not enjoying a book and I read a good amount and I know reading the rest of it, it's gonna be like I'm forcing myself to read, or I know it's not gonna be above a 2-star or mid 3, I'm just not gonna read it. I'm gonna put it down and I'm going to prioritize my other books on my TBR and other books I know I'll enjoy or I feel like I'll enjoy. So that was this one, and I was actually really upset about that because I was so excited about this book. I don't know why. Maybe it was the cover, maybe it was the hockey. I do enjoy hockey romances above any other sports romances, I feel like. So I was excited about this one, but I think the writing style really just wasn't for me. I don't know, nothing really connected. Also just got the ick from the main guy. He was like one of the first scenes where the main girl meets him, he takes her to Target to get stuff for her dorm. And I know this is like so random, but and he grabs a cart, and the whole time they're at Target, he's like pushing it fast and jumping on the back of it and like riding around with it. I don't know why that gave me the ick, but he was like, yeah, that kind of did it for me. But, and also, I just didn't really feel anything between them. I think it was supposed to be fake dating, but I just knew I wasn't gonna enjoy it, so I did DNF this, which I'm really disappointed about. But I told myself I was gonna do that with books I didn't think I was gonna enjoy, and I'm holding myself to that. So then I followed along with the romance that I wanted to read and picked up Collided by Lauren Asher. This one is her F1 series, the Dirty Air series. This is the second one in it, and I know I want to finish the series this year. I've heard great things about the last two, and I heard this one is not everyone's favorite, but I definitely wanted to read it again because I want to finish the series. This one I gave 3 stars. It's not my favorite. I really didn't enjoy the main guy in this and like kind of their relationship, and I said this in the reading vlog where I read this, is I felt the same way I did about the first one in this. It feels like a physical connection between the two characters, and the main guy in his point of view, I feel like he like overly sexualized her, and like the things he would say to her, he like put it on really thick. Like he was just saying and doing too much, I feel like sometimes, where it was like tone it down a little, you know? I do like Lauren Asher's writing. I enjoyed the F1 in this more than the first one. I feel like that was a little interesting story. I also enjoyed the plot line where Sophie, the main character, she has a bucket list she wants to do, so her and Liam are going through the book and kind of checking off things on the bucket list, which I think is an interesting storyline to mix in. I enjoyed it for like entertainment factor, but I didn't really enjoy the main guy or their relationship too much or too much about it. But it was good. Not my favorite romance, but it was an entertaining read, I guess. Then I read The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. I have picked up this book for like 2 years now, saying I'm gonna read it, putting it on my TBR. I don't really know why I haven't read this. I actually am so caught off guard and so disappointed in myself that this story has just been sitting on my shelf for years now, but I kind of fell in love with it and I'm so mad at myself for not picking it up sooner. I am happy though that I read it when I did, because I was told it was slow paced and a slower telling story, and I was kind of told all these preconceived notions and stuff about the book, which I'm happy that I knew, because going into it I had those connotations with it, and I took my time with it and I took it for what it was, and I gave this one 4.5 stars. Starting it off, I right off the bat loved the writing style. I felt really almost lyrical, poetic, and the way she was writing the story felt really beautiful. The way she was storytelling what was going on with our main character Addie. And if you don't know what this is about, it's basically exactly what it says. Addie makes this like bargain and this wish for freedom basically, and she ends up becoming invisible for years and years and years. She's alive for like 300 years, and she's gone through all of her life being invisible to everyone else. And you get the timeline of her in the 1700s when she's born and makes this wish and stuff, and then you get the other timeline of present day. It's 2014, she's in the city, so you see her figuring out how to go through life invisible, and seeing her present day, how she's kind of figured it out and used things that she's learned throughout the time, and you kind of see the journey and stuff. But like I said, it's slower paced and everything, but the writing style really got me. The beginning was slow, the middle was slow. It's kind of, you're learning about Addie, you're learning about what she's going through, but then you get this other plot line kind of thrown in at you, and as soon as that happened, as soon as that was introduced, it hooked me immediately. The ending is heartbreaking. I had a feeling the ending wasn't going to be the happiest thing ever, but I didn't expect what it was, and there are so many beautiful moments in this book, so many beautiful quotes, so many beautiful messages that I just like loved it so much. So shout out to our book club for choosing this for our January book. That's what I read this for, and I'm so happy that it chose it, and it really got me, and I didn't expect it to. So it was definitely an unexpected favorite now. I didn't really appreciate it for what it was in the beginning, but then as the time was going, as I was reading it, I was like, oh wait, I kind of really like this. And I also listened to some of it on Spotify, so I kind of went back and forth. So surprising one, but I am so happy that I finally read it. Then I read Finale by Stephanie Garber. I am so happy that I finally finished the Carvel trilogy. I listened to a majority of it. I think I only read a little bit of it, and I honestly was kind of disappointed in the way that it ended. I didn't love the first two like too much. Not my favorite series, not my favorite characters. I think that's what it was. I enjoyed the storylines of it, and I enjoyed like the creativeness and how interesting it is. The first book and the second one kind of take place in Carvel, and it's like this magical carnival. Not everything you see is true, and you're following these two sisters, and very interesting. Kind of feels like a fever dream you're reading it. This one kind of focuses more on like the magic system of the fates and the playing cards, which was really interesting too. I enjoyed that she didn't take more Carvel plot lines into this one. You still get like everything like that, but I thought this was gonna be my favorite out of all of them. I just didn't love it. I don't know what it was. I didn't connect to the characters throughout the first two, so I guess that was kind of not helping reading this one, but you do get introduced to one of my favorite characters from Once Upon a Broken Heart, so I was excited for that, but he didn't give what I thought he was gonna give in this. I don't know why. I gave this one 3.5 stars. I didn't really love like the bigger scenes that were happening. I feel like there's no build up to it. I feel like it would just like happen, like you're going from scene to scene, like there was no flow throughout the whole thing. I think it's what kind of made me not really love what was going on, because it was just like things were happening, but like nothing was really connecting or flowing very well. So yeah, it was still good. I still recommend this trilogy. I do think you don't need to read this before Once Upon a Broken Heart. You will get spoiled for something, so if you don't want to be spoiled completely, I do think you should read Carvel first, but that didn't bother me reading Once Upon a Broken Heart first. I don't think it really completely matters, but it's really up to you. But I don't think it really plays a huge role whether you read which one first. But I do love Once Upon a Broken Heart more than this one, but I do like going back and seeing the backstory and seeing how one of the characters from Once Upon a Broken Heart was first brought up in this world before going into that, and seeing the backstory of the magic system and stuff. But yeah, 3.5. So after reading Addie LaRue, I kind of started slumping out, and I think that's why I also didn't love Finale. I was kind of having a Addie LaRue hangover. So after Finale, I tried to read another book that I'll talk about in a second, but it wasn't working. Nothing was working, and I soft DNF'd one book for right now. I'm gonna get back to it, so it'll be in another wrap up. But I then read The Perfect Son by Frida McFadden. If I'm ever in a slump, I know Frida McFadden will help me get out of it, or just like help me read a little bit, because every time I read her books, I read them in like a day. And I started this book in like the afternoon time, and I finished it that night, and it was just fast paced. She gets right into the story, like you're right into what's going on and the characters, and you're kind of already questioning what's going on. I did give this one 3 stars. It's not my favorite book by her. I did guess, the first guess that I had about what happened and all of this was exactly what happened at the end, so I did figure this one out. But it was very interesting. It's basically about this girl who goes missing, and the main culprit is the main woman's son, and you kind of start figuring out what happened, if the son has anything to do with it. You're also seeing the mom's point of view, how her son is her favorite child, he can do no wrong. She also has a daughter, and she basically blatantly tells you like the son is her favorite and she will protect him at all costs. So that's kind of what the plot of it is. It's very fast paced. Again, you can read this so fast, so if you're ever in a slump, highly recommend a Frida McFadden book, or really any thriller mystery. That's usually my go-to when I'm not in the mood to read, because I can read them a little bit faster, because it doesn't really take too much brain power. You're not really connecting to any characters, you're kind of just reading the storyline for what it is, and again, you're trying to get to the end to figure out what happened. So that one, again, yeah, I gave 3 stars. Not my favorite by her, but it really did help me because I didn't really want to read and sit and read, but that one I sat and I completely finished. And then the last book of the month took me, I think, over a week to read, and that is a Not So Meet Cute. I think it's by Megan Quinn, and this one is a contemporary romance. This one is about, I think it's a fake fiance. It's kind of like a contractual agreement. She needs help in some way, and he also needs help because he lied to someone he needs for his partnership in the business world and told this guy that he had a fiance. So he needs to find a fiance now, and he finds her. They're complete strangers, but they become fake fiancés. She's now playing the role of the fiance in front of his co-workers and stuff. And I was so excited to read this. This was on my TBR actually for January from my TBR video, and I needed just like a fast-paced romance, but I was reading it for so long. The beginning was really promising. I really enjoyed it. I ended up giving it, I think, 3 stars. I'm gonna be honest, I only read 85% of it and then skimmed the whole rest of it because I just couldn't get through it. I feel like it was super long and like almost nothing was really happening, but the one thing that annoyed me was you meet the main guy in the beginning, and when he first meets up with the main girl, it's like really interesting. They're getting along almost, and then all of a sudden a flip is switched as soon as it's like, okay, we're fake fiancés. He's just like completely not who you first meet. He's just like almost mean, and I didn't really understand the flip in the personality. I wish that didn't happen. I probably would have enjoyed it a lot more, but yeah, some stuff that was happening was annoying. For what it was, I did enjoy it. I actually do want to continue the series, so I don't know. I've heard good things about the rest of them. I really thought I was going to give this a higher rating, and I thought I was going to enjoy it more. Not that it was bad, it just, I didn't feel anything for the characters or anything, and some parts were just like a little cringy to me personally, but I did like the writing style of it. So I think I would enjoy the rest of the series. Maybe I'll enjoy the other characters more. I think just this storyline, the characters' personalities of what was going on, wasn't my favorite. That is the last book that I finally finished in the month of January. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if you read any of these books. I feel like I had a good reading month. Lots of range in this month. I feel like recently I've been reading just fantasy and romances, so a few thrillers to throw in there was kind of fun. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, I hope you enjoyed, and give me any opinions or thoughts you have on these books. Any books you want me to read in February, let me know. And yeah, I will see you hopefully in the next one. Bye!